The Infinite Traveler. Birth is a strange process. The first thing the man is aware of is his body, and then he is aware of the machine. The machine surrounds him. He is adhered to the machine by a warm, slimy substance that has no taste, color, or odor. He hears loud clicks and beeping outside the machine. He can't move, not yet. He opens his eyes and sees a foggy shield of glass in front of his face, coated in ooze. The machine lets out a loud hiss, and the glass shield springs upward, dumping him into a pool of cold water. He sinks down into it until the water is up to his neck. His breathing is shallow and sharp as he tries to adjust to the sudden temperature change. He wades around in the pool, shivering and using his hands to scrape the machine slime from the submerged portion of his body. Next, he sinks in until his head is under the water and rinses the slime off of his face and out of his ears. When he comes up for air, he pulls himself out of the pool and sits on the edge. He looks down at his naked body and tests the integrity of his joints and limbs by flexing them. He looks around, up at the domed white ceiling and cream-colored walls. He notices a square-shaped hole in one of the walls that is large enough for him to walk through, so he gets up and does so. He is in a hallway. It is warmer than the room that the machine was in. He is not scared, nor confused. The floor is heated and soft under his feet. He walks forward and into a small, white room with a large mirror and a steel door. He stands in front of the mirror and looks into his eyes and recognizes them. He touches the dark skin on his face and prods the area under his eyes and tugs at his nose. He opens his mouth and clicks his white teeth together a few times. He takes a portion of his long, black hair and tugs on it. It's strong. His limbs are lean and flexible. He recognizes that this body belongs to him, and he recognizes that he's recognizing, and that I shouldn't refer to myself in the third person. That's important to my survival. As I'm mashing my thumb against the glass and looking at the fingerprint it leaves behind, the door opens. An old man walks in, and I know that he is me. An old me. He is wearing long, black robes, and his hair is graying, and his skin is wrinkled and worn like leather. He's carrying a bundle of clothes, and I know that I need to put them on, so I do. There's a large coat with a furry hood, a sweater, a pair of thick jeans and boots. He watches me put the clothes on, and takes notes using a small computer, which is a square pane of light that hangs in front of his face and blinks. He notices that I'm struggling with the zipper on the coat. He makes a note on his computer, then helps me with it. "How are you feeling?" he asks. I open my mouth. "Feeling? I'm feeling," I respond. I don't think that was the right answer because he makes a few more notes. "Is that tough for you, getting the words out?" he asks. I nod. "Okay, just relax. This is a process. We all have some kind of issue when we come out of the machine. I had trouble with object permanence." I laugh. "That sound funny, really funny." He smiles and nods, but I think that annoyed him. "Come on," he says. "Let's go outside." We descend past a series of narrow hallways and doors until we reach a large airlock. A bright light blinks at us to check and log our vitals, and we're advised by an AI to take care while we're outside the vessel. "Turn that lever all the way left and push outward," the old me says. My muscles shudder and strain as I take the piece of metal and force it over, and I am sure that he is logging it on his computer. I push with my shoulder, and the circular door comes loose and swings aside to reveal a large, gray valley surrounded by sharp mountains. "Go on, I'll be right behind you." I climb out of the airlock and onto a ramp leading downward. As I move, I look up at the craft that I came out of. It is low to the ground, but extends as far as I can see in either direction. I walk with the old me for a bit, and he notices that I'm looking up at the night sky, up at the stars and the countless particles that form into what look like solid rings. The first time I saw the stars in the sky, I started screaming, the old me says, but he's smiling, so I know that it's okay for me to smile too. Why? I say, then try again. Why are we here? Why am I here? I ask him. Much better. We're here because we travel. That's our primary function. I kneel down and pick up a rock. It's cold out here, but he doesn't seem to mind at all. I blow dust off the rock and hold it up to my eyes, and then I let it drop. I'm asking him more questions now, and I'm not certain why, but it seems like the right thing to do. Gravity. Were you able to set it? Yes. Took a few years, but I did it. Atmosphere, too. We can talk about that later. Are we alone? Yes. We've been alone for a very long time. We're walking along the valley, and I notice a few dome-shaped structures in the distance. How was that possible? The old me sits down on a large rock and motions for me to sit as well. I do. The small computer in front of his face blinks, and he babbles something to it. It twists into a series of simple colored shapes. One large circle is blue, and I know that one is Earth. Our ancestors dreamed of traversing the stars as far as possible, but they were limited by their technology. In the beginning, they got in aircrafts and went out as far as they could, and then they came back. Tiny dots representing people leave the circle of Earth and touch other circles, then come back to Earth. Humans are limited by their years. There's a limit to how far one man can travel. And so the first of us came along. The computer shows a face, and it is my face and his. He built the first creator machine, and though it cost many lives, including his own, he succeeded in making more of him while retaining his original memories and his knowledge. I stare into the face. The Earth pulled together its resources and created the craft, and we've been traveling with it ever since. The process has allowed us to go from Earth to places that would take several lifetimes, while retaining one consciousness and knowledge in one body, our bodies. The tiny dot jumps from Earth to another dot, and then another, until Earth becomes a small circle and fades out. We are travelers, pioneers, cultivators. How many of us have there been? I ask. He answers, and the computer goes back to its original state in front of him. When will I get one of those? Your brain is still forming. Right now, your past memories and experiences are rendering, and the full memories of your past won't be available to you until about... He pauses and shrugs. I'd say 5 years, maybe. We still go by Earth time. Like I said, this is all a process. By that point, I'll have sent you off on the craft. You'll know how to create one of these computers when you remember how to. Everything you need is on the craft. I nod, and we begin to walk again. I've made my home here, see? He points to the domes in the distance that I saw earlier. When will I leave here? I ask. I reckon you'll be ready to leave within the week. That's usually the amount of time it takes to gain the memories of the first of us. Those are the most important memories you'll need. We spend the remainder of the day examining his living quarters. I'm particularly impressed by the dome he has formed, which contains its own tropical ecosystem resembling one from Earth, complete with flora and fauna. I ask him if he's been able to create other humans yet, and he claims that's what he'll dedicate the final portion of his life to, and that others of us have been able to accomplish it. The old me takes us back to the craft, and we share a large meal. I feel less of a desire to ask questions for now, and I'm tired. He instructs me to be at his home in 17 hours for a round of flight training, and I tell him that I'll be there. We bid each other farewell, and I leave to my quarters above the vessel. The room in which I'll spend most of my time is small, and contains everything I'll need to recharge. I spend a few minutes switching my clothes and boots with a black robe that was left on my bed. As I turn out the lights and get under the covers, the room plays the sounds of a large body of water surrounding an ancient ship, rocking it back and forth. I find it comforting. Sleep comes easily to me. I dream of the first of us, of the first me. I dream of Earth and looking up to the night sky as a child, and of a powerful hunger to be there.